I'm going to talk about the Detox album because now there is speculation that Dr. Dre is already planning to go straight to work on the Detox album. And I'm going to tell you if this is the case or not the case. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a little background on the history of the Detox album. Now, I want you to sub to this channel and let's get straight into this. So, in '99, Dre dropped his second album, the Chronic 2001 album, and all was going well. But then in 2002, Dre started talking about his third album, the Detox album. And a lot of people got excited because Dre said that this was going to be his magnum opus. And then from 2002 to 2012, Dre started working on many songs for this album. And I know that because I was around in the scene at the time. So Dre worked with Eminem and 50 Cent, Busta Rhymes, Kendrick Lamar, T.I., Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Skylar Grey, Mary J. Blige, Q-Tip, Rakim, Exhibit, and The Game. And they were all doing tracks for this Chronic 2001 sequel that was going to be called the Detox album. Now, these guys, just because they were recording songs, it doesn't mean that these songs were intended at that time for the Detox album. They were just recorded so there would be a steady selection of songs for Dre to choose for this Detox album. So that was the plan. And in this time, Dre was recording hundreds of songs for selection, to finalize 13 of these songs for a third album. Now, over this 10 years, this 10-year period from 2002 onward, towards the later end of that decade, songs started being leaked to the internet and making their way to the fans. Now, I believe that this was done intentionally by Dr. Dre's management to gauge the reaction of these songs by the fans. And I remember that when some of these songs leaked, there was a lot of, conjecture. There was a lot of people talking about these songs. There's a lot of hype, and there was a big buzz around these leaks. Some of the more famous leaks you may remember was in the 2010 song Kush that, featured Snoop, and that was incredible. And then I Need a Doctor was another single that came out. And I think Kush actually started charting. It was number 34 on the charts. And, we got a lot of songs actually charting that were starting to leak from the Detox album. They were absolutely a masterpiece. Now, the theme of the album back then, Dre said, was going to be about the life of a hitman, and each song would be a recording that narrated a story through the eyes of that hitman himself, and Denzel Washington was going to narrate the whole thing. It was a very, set theme that Dre was putting out there, but I think then the vision for the album changed several times during this whole creative process, and I think that there was a lot of delays that happened, especially in 2004 when Ice Cube came out and said the Detox album had been shelved for a bit. And I think this was because Dre had taken on so many other projects. He was working on Eminem's Recovery album and Ice Cube's album and a lot of other projects. And there was a lot going on, so I don't think he could be solely dedicated to the Detox album. So he decided to take a hiatus from it and then came back to it later on down the track. And then again, it came out, and there was Dre changed his mind, so he's very mercurial at this time because he then told people that there were going to be a release date for a reschedule for a release in the fourth quarter of 2004, and he had Producers also contributing to the Detox album, Mr. Porter, Knots, and High Tech, were three of the producers that helped him work on a lot of the material for this album. And, Dre described it as he wanted it to set the tone very high. He wanted it to be the best work that had ever dropped in hip hop. He wanted it to be the most advanced rap album, musically and lyrically, that anyone will ever have a chance to listen to. And I think that this, bar that Dre set very high, the highest in rap, I think that this is what impeded the release of Detox, and, constantly kept the projects stagnating, because, Dre wanted something that was definitive, that stood out, that, was superlative. And I think, a project like that requires, a mammoth effort. It requires a lot of focus and work and complete dedication to. And I think that at times Dre couldn't solely dedicate himself to this Detox album. Now, there are many songs out there that haven't been released. Akon has come out and said he has many songs that he contributed to Detox that were never released. And I've heard that there's around 700 or so songs for the Detox album that, most of them will probably never be released. Some of them were leaked. I know The Game was on a couple of leaked songs. I know other people, and MC's taunted at the Detox album for years. I know Eminem mentioned it on his Recovery album. The Game mentioned it on his album, and, promised people that Dre would, eventually release the album. Now, the reason why I can say this, the Detox album, it's official. I'm going to announce it now, that Dre is working on a Detox album. However, he is starting completely fresh. He has an even bigger team working with him now. And the reason I think he's going to the Detox album now is because financially he has to do this. In the past, financially, he didn't need to release a Detox album. Now he needs to release more material, having gone through a very acrimonious divorce, and the financial strain of that has really now put Dre in a position where he wants to try and, do a lot more to, for music. Even though he has done an incredible amount of work for music, now he wants to release something that's going to generate money and, will be probably one of the most talked about rap albums in the history of rap when it is finally released. So I can confirm from what I've heard, Drake has already been selected to be on a collaborator for this album, and I believe, Drake is the first one we know is going to be on it. I think Eminem is also going to be on it, but Dre is starting from scratch, and it's going to be incredible. And I think there'll be about 20 songs on it. Now, don't forget, Dre did release an album in 2015, the Compton album, that it wasn't, quite anywhere near the level of perfection that this has been promised with this Detox album. So let's see what happens. I think this Detox album, we could see it possibly. Dre's gonna, it works out in his favor to get it out, in an expedient amount of time. So we're looking at probably the end of this year. I think Dre will spend the whole year on this project, and, he's starting from scratch. It'll be incredible. He'll have, a whole team of producers contributing to the album as well. So it won't be just Dre. And he'll have the very best in the business contributing to songs, to verses, to hooks for this album. And I think we might even see a couple of unreleased verses from deceased artists on there. And, who knows, there's still unreleased Eazy-E acapellas out there that no one's heard of. There's, quite a bit that they could do with this, make it really special. And, who knows, we might even, see some, some even the more modern rappers on there, I'm sure Dre wants, all different sounds on the Detox album. So we might even see the likes of, people like Lil Xan or, King Von, rest in peace. But I think, it's going to be a project that sets the tone for the next generation. And to do that, this album will need to account for all the decades and all the styles that have dominated hip hop over, the last 40 years. So let's see how this goes. I'm waiting for the Detox album. I think it will need to be about 20 tracks to do justice to what Dre has intended with this album. Originally, he only intended the Detox album to have 13 tracks. I don't think he could, really set out to do what he wants to do with just 13 tracks. In today's modern era, I think he needs to come out with a full 20 tracks, or maybe even do a double disc version of the Detox album and have maybe 30 tracks, 15 tracks on each CD. Let's see how it goes. This will be one of the biggest things to happen in rap in our lifetime. So big ups to Dre. I'm looking forward to this one. Let's see how this goes. Be sure to sub to the channel, share, like, subscribe. I'm MC Rapology. Peace.